Hey guys, Tactical Minds here. Want to get a little early morning video in for you guys. Was talking to my buddy Tommy last night, who is one of my brothers, known for a very long time. He's out in Africa right now training foreign militias. And talking to him, and Tommy says, "Hey Chris," he said, "I watched the video last night. About the where you said you were, had a fear of snakes and spiders." He said, and it's crazy. I've got this, lizard living behind my bed in my hotel room. He also told me about some monkey that lives outside his hotel room that's always throwing fruit and messing up the balcony. But it's another funny story. Any event, he was telling me about this lizard. And he said, "You know what, Chris? You should tell everyone about your personal story with the spider encounters and stuff like that." So it got me thinking. Talking about, again, yesterday's video about fears and saying how I had fears of snakes and spiders. Figured I'd tell you guys a little bit about snakes and spiders, some things to know, just some knowledge and some things to do if you are bit by one, and then kind of share with you at the end my own little personal story about what happened. And my buddy Tommy, by the way, another really interesting guy, knows a lot of stuff. We are going to do a Zoom meeting one day and, maybe film it for a video where we'll, hit some talking points. But anyway, so let's get started. As always, guys, please, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. And again, if you didn't see yesterday's video, go over to Facebook and follow our page, Tactical Minds. Over at Facebook, you could direct message me there personally, and I will do my best to answer all messages in a timely manner. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So first, let's start off with, we're going to kind of just go into the most common snakes and spiders that I feel most people in America would encounter, right? Because I'm going to just deal with things that I have the knowledge in. So when we talk about snakes, we're talking about snakes basically can be categorized, as far as venomous snakes, can be categorized into 4 different types of venom, okay? You've got your necrotoxins and your cytotoxins, which kill your cells. Your neurotoxins, which are obviously going to affect your nervous system. And then you've got your myotoxins, which will damage your muscles and muscle tissue. And then you've got your hemotoxins, which will disrupt blood clotting. So, those are the kind of categories of snakes. Now, when we talk about snakes, what's probably one of the most common snakes, I think, in America that most people probably fear the most would be rattlesnakes, right? Because they're big, they've got that big rattle and it shakes around and it, kind of puts the fear of God into you, right? I think that's what most people think about when they think about, venomous snakes, so that's what we're kind of going to mainly talk about. We're not going to get into black mambas and all these other types of snakes that I've never encountered and really don't have very vast knowledge on. But I think a lot of people in their time have probably encountered a rattlesnake here or there, especially if you live, anywhere around the desert areas and stuff like that. So rattlesnakes, a couple of things to know. One, most rattlesnakes, at least the adults, will actually let off that rattle pretty good before you get up close to them. However, if it's early in the morning, you'll find that the snakes like to stay out on sometimes the grass or, even on the blacktop pavement because it's absorbed the heat from the sun all day long and they're looking to warm up their bodies. So they're laying out there looking warm up. So when they're doing that, they are very dormant. So it is possible, and I have done it myself, for you to walk up on one and them to not move or make a sound. And you just have to remember, if that does happen, just back away very slowly, maintain visual on the snake, and don't make sudden movements. Don't give it any reason to be afraid and to lash out at you, because most of the times that's what they're doing. It's a defensive bite. Another thing about adult rattlesnakes, approximately 25% of adult rattlesnake bites are dry bites. And by dry bites, what that means is that 25% of the time, if you get bit by a snake, that dry bite means that it bites you and it's biting you out of the defensive posture, but it doesn't actually inject any venom into you. So that's what a dry bite is. So, 1 out of 4 chance you get bit by a rattlesnake, you might not catch a venomous bite. Now, the thing you do have to watch out for is baby snakes. Very baby, very young rattlesnakes, small ones. I mean, about like that big. It's kind of hard to see them if you're out walking in some areas. Those are the ones you really have to be concerned about, honestly, because even though they look small and you can step on them and they're not as scary as the big ones, right? The reason why you need to watch out for those is because the baby snakes actually don't have any control over their venom. So they're going to inject almost all their venom into you in a bite, whereas a adult rattlesnake is giving you just enough to back you off defensively. A baby snake doesn't know the difference, so it's going to inject all that into you. Now, if you do get bit by one, a couple things to know. One, don't try and cut the wound open and bleed it out or try and bleed the venom out. You're not going to get enough out that it's going to do a difference. You're going to do more damage and more harm to yourself than you are good. And none of this sucking the poison out or having somebody else suck the poison out like you see in all these movies and you hear people talk. That's a wives' tale. Okay, you're not going to suck enough poison out to make a difference, and all you're going to do is probably make yourself pretty violently ill. So do not try and suck the poison out. Okay, I have seen on the market they do have some kits with like little plungers that claim they can withdraw a good amount of venom. Honestly, guys, I've never used one. I don't know how good those things work, but I probably wouldn't put too much faith in it. Biggest thing is if you get bit by a snake, first thing is, you need to maintain your composure, right? You need to stay calm. You need to keep your heart rate down and you need to not move. You need to isolate yourself. So if you've been bit, sit down, preferably in an area away from the snake, obviously, but sit down, try and calm yourself, calm your breathing, because the more you start accelerating your breathing, the faster your heart rate starts going, the quicker that venom is going to start coursing through your veins. And that's what we don't want to happen. If you get up, start moving around, or if you think about like running out to a road screaming for help or something like that, you don't want to do that, right? Because running around, exerting that physical energy, again, that's going to get the blood flowing, guys, and that's going to get the venom flowing through your bloodstream even faster. So you don't want to do that. You want to sit down, remain calm. If you have a phone and you have some communication, call 911 right away. Let them know. Do not apply a tourniquet to the bite. I know there's some people out there that say to do that. Don't apply a tourniquet to the bite. Try to keep the bite elevated, but you want it below, basically below the heart. We don't want the blood going up and flowing down, and getting up into our heart and stuff like that. So, just calm, keep the leg isolated. If you have a, cool, dry bandage or something like that, definitely put a bandage over it. But again, don't try and cut it. Don't try and suck the venom out. Don't try any of those other things. Get it bandaged, wait for help, call EMS right away, right? Get 911 on the horn. And when EMS does come, let's say you're somewhere off hiking in the desert or something like that, and EMS is going to meet you at a road, maybe it's, a couple 100 meters away or whatever. If you have a friend with you at all possible, have your friend carry you. Again, you don't want to move and exert that energy and pump that venom into your veins anymore. So that's snakes for the most part, right? At least, like I said, rattlesnakes. A lot of snakes are not venomous, but if you're like me, you don't like them either fucking way, right? All right. So spiders, two major types of spiders that you'll encounter. And here's where we'll get my personal story here in just a moment or two, right? So the two major ones that are the most dangerous, in my opinion, especially, in the region where most of us are, is your black widows and your brown recluses, right? Now, your black widows have that hemotoxin, right? As we said before, that hemotoxin is going to disrupt your blood clotting. A black widow's bite is going to be incredibly painful. I've never been bitten by one myself, but I've heard that it is quite painful all throughout your body. Almost feels like your body's kind of on fire, right? Because it's attacking your blood cells. Way you identify a black widow, very black, shiny, and typically a very shiny red, almost hourglass marking on their back. It's almost impossible to miss them. And as a matter of fact, if you've seen a spider web before, you've seen spider webs are very intricate and kind of beautifully woven, right? Well, if you see a spider web that's kind of all gnarly and doesn't really have like any pattern to it, that is going to be your black widow spider web. That's going to indicate that a black widow is nearby. Now, again, most of them are not just going to attack you, except for a defensive thing. So if you see one get rid of it, kill it, get it the hell out of there. It's probably not going to bother you, but again, you don't want to run the risk. And again, if you do get bit, best thing to do, stay calm, just like with the snake, right? Because that hemotoxin's coursing through your veins, right? Stay calm, call 911, let them know you've been bit by a black widow. Isolate the bite. You can put some ice on it to, help reduce the swelling and stuff like that. But again, you're going to want to get to emergency services, right? So the other type is a brown recluse. This is something that I'm all too familiar with. So a brown recluse spider is going to have 6 eyes. It's going to be very furry. And on its back, it's also kind of nicknamed the violin because on its back, it's going to have kind of like a violin shaped marking drawn on its back. That's going to be one of the main ways you can tell that it's a brown recluse. Now, brown recluse spiders, hence the name recluse, they do tend to hide. Now, some people that live in areas where brown recluse spiders are indigenous to, and there are a lot of areas, a lot of times you can have probably 2 or 3 in your house and you wouldn't even know it. They're looking for warm places to hide and places that are not tampered with, right? So if you got an article of clothing or something that's been sitting in the closet for a while, or a pair of boots or something that's been sitting in the closet for a while and hasn't moved for maybe several months, a year, something like that, before you put them on, go ahead, give it a shake out. That's a good spot for a brown recluse to be hiding, right? So again, they only bite out of defense. The problem with the brown recluse spider is the brown recluse spider actually has something in its saliva, and when it bites you, the bite is almost undetectable. You almost wouldn't even know that you've been bit. There's virtually no pain at all. But that necrotoxin that they carry, what that's going to do is that's going to damage your skin cells, right? Over time, actually, necrosis, like eating of the flesh. So that's something that, if you're bit by a brown recluse, basically, it'll look like any other type of insect bite, right? But if it starts to, and you just want to monitor it, but if it starts to swell up, if it starts to literally look like a gumball sticking out of, an area of your leg, your foot, your hand, whatever, or like a really big pimple somewhere, that's when you're going to want to get to emergency services right away, because that means you have a problem. That's going to be that the bite has probably got infected, and at that time, emergency services is going to deal with that. So that being said, let's talk about my personal story, okay? So going back to 2014, I want to say roughly, I was bit by a brown recluse spider. Now, I didn't know about this right away, right? I woke up one morning and I had this big gumball pimple-sized thing sticking out of the top of my foot, right? And I wasn't really sure what it was. I figured maybe the night before I had a few too many beers and maybe I, kicked the fireplace or something like that, So I didn't think much of anything of it. So I kept just going to work, working. Not a big deal, right? Pain started feeling more and more and more. My foot was feeling more painful. Worked a whole week. And then finally by day 6 or 7, I said, okay, I'm going to just go ahead and isolate my leg for my 2 days off. Go ahead and put some ice on it. And that should bring the swelling down, and that'll be fine. I'll be good to go, right? So come after my 2 days off, I go to get out of bed the next morning, and I noticed that this big red ball on the top of my foot no longer is red. It's purple, and I can see black specks sticking up underneath it. Went to get out of bed, and basically my legs collapsed. My wife picked me up and rushed me to the hospital. Upon getting to the hospital, they did a couple x-rays to see what was going on. Doctor came in, and the doctor, essentially told the nurse, hey, we got to get this out right now. Came in with what I will describe as some like medieval style freaking doctor tools, okay? Any event, they proceeded to cut, pop the hole that was in my foot, or pop the bubble that was in my foot, and then have to go in and actually cut the pockets of infection. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I was awake during the whole time. They did numb the initial pop. So that part I didn't feel. When they started cutting the pockets of infection, I almost ripped the table out of the wall. The pain was pretty insane. As a matter of fact, a nurse did come over beforehand and hand me a pillow, quote unquote, for when you black out. I was not, I have a high tolerance for pain, was not experiencing pain that bad, but that pain was pretty damn awful. So if you wake up with that bubble on your foot, again, go and get help. So, got the bite cleaned out, stuff like that. They put some iodine in there, cleaned it out, and they patched it up patched it up with some gauze, the hole, right? Now I'm left with what looks like basically a 45 gunshot wound to the top of my foot. Pretty nasty to look at. As a matter of fact, I do have pages on Facebook. If you guys are interested in seeing it sometime, I'll put them up there. I just didn't put them up here because I figured it's kind of hard for some people to stomach, right? Basically, they'll look like a gunshot wound to the top of my foot. So they packed it with gauze. Well, the venom had spread because I had let it go for so long. It had spread throughout my legs. So my legs for about the next 3 weeks barely worked. I had to have crutches and could barely move around at all. And every night I would have to unpack the hole, get into a shower with this special stuff called Tibiclens, clean out the hole, get out, take some pain pills, which virtually did nothing, take a really long Q-tip and this string gauze, and I would have to pack the hole tight every night, causing myself like horrible, horrible pain. I mean, you hit a nerve, it shoots a pain up through you, and then you got to wait a few seconds and you got to keep going and keep going. You got to pack this thing tight so you don't create an abscess, right? Absolutely horrible experience, guys. Hope I never have to go through it again. Kind of the reason why I don't like snakes and spiders. I've just had way too many encounters with both of them. But anyway, guys, that's a little stuff on that. That's the story. Hope you guys enjoyed the video as always. Stay safe, stay tactical, stay dangerous, and stay the hell away from snakes and spiders. Have a good one, guys.